What's up, guys? This is Nick from Part-Time Pilot, and I am so excited because this is the last video of the cross-country planning playlist. It's been a long road. I'm excited to get onto a new topic, but before we do that, we got to talk about how to calculate your landing distances. It's very important. It's very similar to how you calculate takeoff distances, and if you want to see that video, there's a little eye that just popped up in the top right corner of your screen. You can go click that and check out the takeoff distance videos. I go into a little bit more detail on how to use the chart in that video. I will go into less detail in this video because the way you use the charts are the exact same procedure. So here we go. Let's get into it. We'll do a couple examples and we'll explain how you find your landing distances. All right, so the first thing you need to do is determine which performance charts you need to use for calculating your landing distances. There's multiple charts in your POH or AFM, so you need to make sure you're using the right one. So there's two options usually. There's a landing distance and then there's a landing ground roll distance. So what are the differences? So the landing distance is going to be this distance here. It's from a 50-foot obstacle to be able to clear that. So the altitude you would need to be able to clear that, glide down to the ground, land, and then come to a complete stop right here. That is your complete landing distance. That's the red. So that's the landing distance chart up here. Now the other chart is your landing ground roll distance. Now this doesn't care about a 50-foot obstacle or your glide or anything like that. It just is the distance from when your wheels touch the ground to when you can come to a complete stop. So that's the landing ground roll distance. So if you don't have an obstacle, 50-foot obstacle that you got to worry about, you're just going to worry about this landing ground roll distance, okay? If you do have a 50-foot obstacle, a hill, a tree, a building, anything, you're going to want to come up with this. You're going to want to know the distance the obstacle is from the runway and the distance of the runway, and add those two up and then find your landing distance and make sure that you have enough distance to come to a complete stop over that obstacle. All right, if you don't have an obstacle, then you just need to know once you touch down if you have enough runway to come to a complete stop. All right, so the next thing we need to do is gather the information we'll need to use for the charts. This includes takeoff weight, landing weight, that's in air, landing weight, forecasted surface winds, runway elevation, runway direction, forecasted surface temperature, and forecasted altimeter setting. Then we can use this information to calculate what we need to use for the charts, and that is a pressure altitude and a headwind and tailwind component, just like we did in the takeoff distance chart. All right, so let's get into an example. So let's say our landing weight is 2040 pounds, 2,040 pounds, from runway 18 at an airport that is 2,000 feet long at an elevation of 712 feet. With the following forecasted weather. You have surface winds at 340 at 7 knots, surface temperature is 30 degrees Celsius, and your expected altimeter setting is 29.84. So the first thing we want to do is come up with a pressure altitude. Now our pressure altitude equation is the elevation plus 1,000 times the quantity 29.92 minus your altimeter setting. So you'll do 29.92 minus 29.84, okay, to get 0.08. You'll multiply that by 1,000 to get 80, and then you'll add that to 712, and you get 792 feet. All right, so now we got to get our headwind or tailwind component. So we had our runway was runway 18, so 180, and then our winds were 340 at 7 knots. The angle between 340 and 180, now 180 is kind of the same, it's the same as 360. So between 360 and 340 is 20 degrees. All right, now we just need to use our equation for headwind or tailwind, which is the velocity of the wind, 7 times cosine of the angle between the wind and the runway, which is 20 degrees. And if you do that, you can type it into Google, 7 times cosine, parentheses, 20 DEG. You got to specify degrees, not radians. Close parentheses. Type that into Google, and it'll give you 6.6 knots of a tailwind. How do we know it's a tailwind? Well, if you draw out the vectors here, you're going to be landing here. Our wind from 340 is coming out here, so you know that the component is going to be a tailwind with a little bit of a crosswind component as well. All right, now that we have all these values, time to use the charts. So for distance over a 50-foot obstacle, that's the landing distance chart. All right, so we start at 30 degrees. We draw our line up to our pressure altitude of 792. Draw that line over to the next reference line. Follow these diagonal lines horizontal or parallel until we reach our weight of 2040. At that intersection, we draw a straight line over until the next reference line, and then we draw a line up parallel to the diagonal lines for our tailwind, and we meet that with our tailwind value line, and then we go at that intersection, we go across and we get a landing distance over 50-foot barrier of about 1,270 feet. Now if we do that for the landing ground roll distance, so that's no obstacle, let's see what we get. Start at 30 degrees, go up to 792 pressure altitude, then come down to our weight of 2040, go across, up for the about 6 degree tailwind, so 6 knot tailwind, sorry, and then over for about a value of about 755 feet for our landing ground roll distance. Hope this made sense. If not, please ask questions in the comments below. And now please check out my other videos of this cross-country playlist if you have any questions. Right now on your screen on the left, you're gonna see a video, an option to click on the video for takeoff distance, and then on the right you're gonna see all the videos in our cross-country playlist. And then on the top left, if you click the logo, you'll be able to subscribe. That way you get a notification for each time I upload a new video, and I'm gonna be starting a new playlist, so be sure to subscribe, so you can get those notifications. Thanks everybody.